It's that time again to thank some of you wonderful people who've got involved in the Patreon over the last few days. So thank you to Cameron Tennant, Drew Whalen, Robin Weller, John Davis. Thank you very much for supporting the channel on Patreon. Without it, it would be difficult to continue doing this as my full-time thing. With it, oh, you wonderful people, you make it possible. If you too want to get involved in the Patreon, you can do that at patreon.com/Lollujo. Thank you. Hello and welcome to Club 4 Part 10 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kev, and coming up on today's episode, we have two home games and a real... Have I got coffee in my moustache? And a real outside chance of a playoff push. I mean, it is a bit of a long shot. We are 11 points behind 6th place with 8 games to go. It isn't going to happen. It surely isn't going to happen. But we are in quite good form. We've won our last 3 games on the bounce. We're scoring plenty of goals. If it hadn't been for this little run of form here, who knows what might have been. This is what the league table looks like. Any fear of relegation is long since gone. And I can't help but just glance up a little bit and wonder. That aside, we are reaching that point of the season where managers will start getting sacked from big clubs for failing on their season expectations. And we can potentially start having a little nose to see if there is a bigger job we're interested in, or whether we want another season at Portsmouth. Brentford, for example, in the Premier League. I mean, they're as good as gone. There doesn't seem to be any benefit in going to Brentford. I would argue they're not a bigger club than Portsmouth, probably. Although they do seem to be rich, which is interesting. And no, they went up to the Premier League. I thought they'd had a few seasons in the Premier League. They haven't. This is their first year. They're coming straight back down. Rangers in Scotland is another interesting one. It's interesting to see them as low down as 5th place in the Scottish Premier League. Well adrift as well, 20 points away from top of the league. I don't know, I feel like that probably isn't a job worth exploring. Obviously, the previous Portsmouth manager, Stevie Crawford, went there and failed. So I think Rangers is probably, if they were challenging for the title and we were going in there for Champions League football, maybe not to be a mid-table team. And equally, Tenerife, similar situation to with Brentford. They're as good as down already at this point, so there's no point going there. We don't want to go and struggle in the lower leagues in Spain. So we'll keep an eye on that, but in the meantime, we are focused on trying to finish as high as we possibly can in the Championship, and this is the team that we're putting out there to do exactly that today. No, it's not, because Sid Nelson is suspended. Hold the phone. Matt Clark can come in for him, and then we need to pick substitutes. Obviously, I pick the substitutes myself these days. What am I doing? Pick the wrong thing. I obviously wouldn't ever get my assistant manager to do it, especially not on a video, because you lot would all shout at me. So, we've got Fielding in goal, a back four of Purrington, Lindsay, Clark and De Silva, with Oakley, Booth, Boateng and O'Keefe in midfield, and Schmodix in... I love saying Schmodix. And Schmodix in behind Ugbo and Scott. Let's get into the game and hopefully continue this little run of wins that we're on. I will get my apologies in now as well. I've got the very early stages of a cold. I know you really want to hear about me moaning about my cold, but it's advance warning for potentially 2 things. Firstly, there is a chance that at some point over the next few days there'll be a day without videos if it develops into something more than a cold. My kids have been really ill, like over the last week. They've all had like 4 or 5 days off school, all 3 of them. I can't even speak. All 3 of them have had up to a week off of school poorly, and they've been like proper stay in bed all day really poorly. If that's on its way in, expect there to be a few days off of videos. I'll put a video out with like snot and puffy eyes telling you that I'll be back in a few days. But if you do come back on Thursday and there hasn't been a video for a few days, let this be your explanation why, just in case I'm too poorly to make the excuse video nearer the time. But also, there might be the odd sniffle and cough that I do my best to edit out of this video, but you might get the odd jump cut where I'm like... And then it cuts to me looking as normal as I can do again. And that's because I was editing out a sneeze or a cough or a sniff. I don't start a sniff like that, but the other 2 often start in that manner. Right, half an hour in, nothing much seems to have happened yet. Neither team has had a shot on target, but we seem to be getting a never-ending highlight. and it ends with a shot. Their first shot on target of the game falls to... I thought we were playing Ipswich for a second. It's not. It's Swansea. Swansea are just outside the playoffs. So this is a good test to see if we've got any hope of sort of mixing it up with the big boys. If we can put in a good performance against Swansea, then even if we don't push for the playoffs properly this year, it's something we can start to dream about for next season if we can bring the right players in over the summer. If they absolutely thump us, then we know we're perennial mid-tablers, and might want to start looking with a little bit more urgency for a new job to jump into. And Lindsay has given away a penalty. That's his second big mistake of the game. He gave the ball away for that shot on the previous highlight. I think it was Lindsay. And now gives away a penalty as well, which Fielding can't get to. We're 1-0 down, and any defeats, or really any non-victories at this point, any match that we don't win, that rules out any outside chance we had at a playoff push. I think 11 points in 8 games is still a pretty tall order anyway, but you never know. If we won all 8 of them, that would be 11 straight wins in the end, and any team winning the last 11 games of the season in a row has a chance of the playoffs. But any draws or defeats in there and we lose any chance of that at all. And Swansea are coming at us again. If they score a second goal... Lindsay actually makes a tackle this time. Plays it forward to Ugbo. Ugbo over the top to Scott. Schmodix is in the middle. I think it's Schmodix. It is Schmodix. What a finish from Schmodix. And it's 1-1. And that was a thing of beauty. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed it so much I want to have a sip of my coffee. I acknowledge it could put foam back in my moustache again. So we then wipe the moustache. But it's either that or I lose the ability to speak midway through the episode. Hot beverages are keeping me hydrated. Haven't even been able to drink any Coke Zero yet, though, which, by the way, thank you very much to Jimmy FM, who sent me that. If you watch my vlog channel, you'll see that he sent me 5 boxes of Coke Zero. Because he's a crazy person. But thank you, Jimmy. I'm going to thank you everywhere. Anyone who sends me Coke Zero is going to get talked about a lot. You may have heard me mention Coke Zero on the channel before. The main reason I started the channel 2 years ago was because I dreamt of a Coke Zero sponsorship. This is as close as I've got so far. I got some free Coke Zero. My life on the internet is nearly complete. If I get Coke Zero for free directly from the Coca-Cola Corporation, then I can retire happy. Right, let's make some changes. We are running out of players. Injuries are plenty running throughout the squad. Ugbo's not playing very well today. We'll bring Dunn on for him. Dunn's played a few games as target man recently, and he's not a disaster there. Although his position suitability suggests he can't do it, he actually can do it. Swap those two over. Likewise, Oakley Booth. I'll never remember that lad's name. He can play in a multitude of positions around this midfield. To allow Grant to push forward a little bit as the playmaker, just to try and give us a little bit of extra oomph out of the midfield. Cross comes in, Oakley Booth is there. That was a well-worked set piece. Tactics as well. I'm going to claim, it's going to ask me if I want to confirm my tactics in a minute because they haven't gone through yet, presumably, but I'm going to claim that was moving Oakley Booth over to the other side has created the opportunity for him to score that goal. Oh no, the change actually went through. I take all the credit for that goal. It was a genius substitution. Right, now it's on again, boys and girls, because as it stands right now, and I know we've still got 15 minutes left, there's only 1 goal in it, but as it stands right now, it's 7 games remaining. The gap is down to 10 points between us and the playoffs. We're closing the gap, everybody. Obviously, we do need to close it at a pace faster than 1 point a game. So we need to play more of the teams who are in and around that playoff picture and beat them. But, you know, if we manage to beat Swansea, there's every chance we could do exactly that. They're now pushing it. There you go. They're going to equalise. And, Fielding wants to play in the Premier League. He's got a Premier League future on his mind. We are absolutely mugging Swansea today, by the way, with their 3 clear-cut chances, our 0. It's a proper mugging to start the week off right. But, you know, sometimes on the road to the Premier League, you have to mug some teams. And I think that's okay. Right, we're going to bring on Tunnicliffe just to shore up the midfield a little bit. Put him in there as a ball-winning midfielder on defend, just to crunch some Swansea players. And then remember to press play again. And then to try and avoid the impending cough, we'll have another sip of coffee. By the way, happy Lollujo Day to everybody. That looked like a penalty there. Schmolix is fouled in the penalty area, I'm sure. And now Swansea have got a break on. And, Perrington, he wants to play in the Premier League. Well, we all want to play in the Premier League. Scott beats his man. We've got 3 men over in the middle. It must be. And George Grant, what a miss. If we end up missing out on the playoffs by 2 points because we end up drawing this game, full responsibility falls with George Grant for that miss. But luckily, it seems that it's eventually not going to be an issue. I don't know how that didn't go down as a clear-cut chance. We had a queue of players ready to put that away. And Tunnicliffe misses out on the tackle in midfield. And, this close. Put your happy Lollujo Day mug that's available from lollujo.fm/store down, Kev. Right, that's one of our wins that we need. Now we've got Sheffield Wednesday. I think the problem is we're playing all the teams in the bottom half of the table. We need to be playing this lot to close the gap on them. But that gap is down to 10 with 7 points to go. 7 games to go. 2 changes for the Sheffield Wednesday game, then 1 forced, 1 voluntary. George Grant comes into the midfield at the expense of Oakley Booth, just purely to rest him. He's played a lot of games recently, down to 94% conditioning, and we've got a huge chunk of games. We've got on the 8th today, Sheffield Wednesday. On the 10th, it's Derby. 12th, Sunderland. 15th, Rotherham. So in the space of the next 7 days, we've got 4 matches. So we are going to need to do some fairly heavy rotation. I would have liked to rotate some of the defenders as well, but in fact, that's one of the other forced changes that's had to happen. Liam Lindsay is a Sheffield Wednesday player on loan with us, so he's had to drop out of the team. Sid Nelson's still suspended, so Stearman comes back in to play alongside Clark at the back. And there's not really much else we can do to rotate. Tunnicliffe's still injured. Don't really want to break up the strike partnership until I absolutely have to. And there's not much else down there that's going to improve the team or even keep the team to the same standard. So let's get into this match. Again, we need a win. If we win, we have a chance to close that gap. Sunderland we play quite soon, and they're the team in 6th place. So even if by the time we play Sunderland, we can get that gap down to 7 or 8 points, if we then beat them, the gap becomes like 5 points, and then all of a sudden 5 points in the last 4 or 5 games starts to look a lot more doable than 11 points with 8 games to go did. It's still a huge long shot and still relies on us being able to pick up a win today. There's a lot of other teams that we need to not do very well either. It's not just Huddersfield and Sunderland that we're chasing. There's Swansea, Bristol City, Reading, Preston, Burnley. They're all between us and the playoffs. So not only do we need the current 5th and 6th place teams to start stumbling a little bit, we also need the 5 teams between us and them to be in worse form than us. So again, long shot, but you never know. We've have a bit of a reputation for sneaking into these things via the back door, and there's nothing more backdoor than being 10 points away with 6 games to go and somehow crawling over the line. Right. In a similar way to with the Swansea game, nothing much has happened in this first half hour. We're starting to start games slowly and then give away penalties. It's clearly our new thing. This time it's Purrington, and let's see if Fielding can save this one. Imagine how much easier this season would be if we didn't keep giving away penalties. And once again, he goes the wrong way. We have to come from behind, and we'll do it. We'll be fine. We're a team. We're a team destined for the... We're not destined for the playoffs, but you never know. We might get there. Oh, Ugbo, very, very close. Ugbo, by the way, has signed a contract extension on a big pile of money. He's on like £10,000 a week now on an extended contract because he's a superstar. We've also extended Barry Scott's loan deal to the end of next season. He was going back to Watford at the end of this year. So we've got our strike partnership tied down for next season. One downside is that Stearman, without me realising it, is on a match highest earner clause in his contract. I sometimes don't read the clauses of contracts. You may have noticed that about me. So he's gone up to £10,000 a week as well as our 4th choice centre-back. He's still on contract till the end of next year. Luckily, he has announced he's retiring at the end of this season. I assume that means he's invalidating his contract and not expecting to be kept around as a coach on 10 grand a week, because that could cause problems. He has developed some staff attributes. We don't currently employ him as a coach, though. And I'm 90% sure that when he retires as a player, that's his contract done. So we only have to overpay him for a few more weeks. But start reading the small print, Kev, is the moral to today's tale. What can Oakley Booth do? We did him as a Mazzala in the last game, didn't we? And he scored a goal. 2-0 down at this point, and the dream looks like it might be over. I can live with the dream being over. Remember, this season was all about survival. What was that? I mean, there's accepting that the dream is over. Oh, it was disallowed. That's all right then. I was about to go off on one, but it seems like it was a foul on Fielding. Right, we need to show something a little bit different in this second half. Tick that off on your cliche bingo cards, which, by the way, there has been one made available by one of the guys in the Facebook group. So if you want a Kev cliche bingo card, you can go to facebook.com/LollujoFM. There's one in there, and you can actually tick cards off. If anyone does that, I want you to tweet pictures at me to show me you doing it, because it will just be fascinating. Right, we just had a header from Ugbo cleared off the line, and now Sheffield Wednesday are coming at us again. We seem to be struggling a little bit today. We're not getting the ball to our front three at all. Our defence isn't playing very well. Just generally, we've not really turned up for this one. I might have put too much pressure on them by saying that we're going to find our way into the playoffs. Right, Ugbo to Schmodics. Can he grab a goal? He can. 27 minutes. What? He can't? Right, what just happened? That crossed the line. Where's this VAR thing? We scored a goal there, didn't we? And now Schmodics is going to get sent off. To be fair, I can understand why. He just scored a goal and the game didn't acknowledge it. I would get myself sent off in that situation as well. There's no point staying on the pitch. If you're going to be punished by nonsense like that, just give up and go home. I'm in full support of Schmodics getting that red card. I might take the rest of my players off in protest. That was mental. I don't understand what just happened. I'm sure you lot down in the comments will enlighten me as to what just happened. But on first glance, without the use of a replay, I think we scored a goal. I think not only did we score a goal, we got the little goal flash. It must have just been flashing between blue and yellow for them as it was cleared or something. But I'm certain that was a goal. We've made all our substitutions as well. Well, we're not going to win this game. We're not going to get promoted. Oh, hang on. Oh, no. I thought we were on like 60 points. We're not on 55. The gap is back up to 12 points with 6 games to go. We're not closing that kind of gap. Promotion will have to wait for another year. But we will try and finish as high up in the league as possible. And I guess we can start looking at some of the other players. Now we're not really playing for anything. We can start rotating a little bit more, have a look at some of the more fringe players, maybe try a few different formation ideas, and just start to put plans in place for next season, which is no bad thing, I guess. Just would have been nice to end with a bang, but 'twas not to be. If you've enjoyed that episode, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos, and thank you very much for watching.